So, for those of you that don't know me, I am Charlie Wall, and I am the owner of Wild Awakening Retreats. And for those of you that do know me, hello and welcome to my field. My work is centered around, first and foremost, bringing women together. I think it's so magical and so important for women to come together. I've been doing it for 20 years in different forms, and I absolutely love it. And then my teaching or the work that I do with women is centered around feminine energetics, the female nervous system, um, and so many other things. I started off in a world after I sold my fitness business. I started off in a world called the Three Principles, which some of you may or may not know, but it's essentially like an inside out understanding, like our wisdom lies from within. So that is the sort of first layer that I work with women on, and that is how I personally overcame PTSD and chronic anxiety. And then I've since gone on over the last few years to really deepen my understanding of the feminine, her nature, her essence through the language of energetics and the female nervous system specifically. And the reason I say the female nervous system specifically is because much of the work or the nervous system work that's out there in the sort of mainstream is based around a male nervous system, and of course, we are women. So, the female nervous system research is only 5 years old, and so it's very cutting edge. You can't really find it on Google. There's some brilliant teachers out there who've taught me personally and who are doing this work, but it's been transformational in my life in helping me get into my body and out of the mind. So out of my stories and into my mind. And I'm a feminine, I'm a practitioner. I walk alongside you. I'm a practitioner in the arts of being feminine truly, outside of distortion, outside of stories, outside of narratives, outside of conditioning. Um, and so, of course, I've come to this work through my own life, my own experiences, and my background is in mental health and addictions. I've spent my entire career supporting humans, but mainly women, physically, emotionally, in all of the ways that you can support a woman. And I know that through my own work, through my own life experience, that I have been that woman who has felt like she's had to hold it all together for many reasons. Some of you know my backstory, some of you won't know my backstory. I'm not going to talk about that here because I've spoken about it elsewhere. But the deeper sort of aspect of that is knowing what it feels like to be completely disconnected from myself, from my body, from my higher S self, but from my feminine body, from my cyclical body. I am postmenopausal. I am going to be 54 next week. I haven't had a bleed since 2020. Prior to that, I had no relationship to my cycles, to my bleeds, to the moon, no connection. I was very attuned to my body and I was very attuned to other people's bodies and experiences because I'd worked with women for 20 years or more, but I was completely disconnected from my body, from my cycles. And so I know firsthand what it's like to be disconnected from my cycles, from my body, from my knowing, from my body signals. I know what it's like to override my body. I know what it's like to push through. I know what it's like to ignore my sense, my intuition, myself. I know what it's like to numb, in all of the ways that you can numb. And so my work now is about helping you as a woman come back into relationship with yourself, truly understanding your feminine nature truly and what that actually means, and coming down and into the body, coming down and yin, we could say, outside of our mind, outside of our logic, outside of our stories. I don't work through fixing people or forcing anything. Hi, Kelly. So if you see me looking, it's because I'm seeing if anybody's commenting, but I'm having to look on my phone. Um, Lovely to have you here, Kelly. Those of you that know my work, those of you that have been on my retreats before, if you're listening, it would be amazing if you could share like what you've learned through being in my field, through my circle, my online circle, through being on retreat, just so that the women who are listening here or who do listen back get a sense of the beautiful women in my field, but also the fact that you know, your voices are as important, and your sharing of your voices and your experience of this work is as important as mine. Now, I obviously speak through my lived experience and I teach through that. And as I said, I'm a practitioner in this myself. I'm right there with you, practicing still most days. But it's always lovely to hear your voices. So if you don't mind, that would be amazing. Hello, Sharon. Lovely to have you here as well. Um, yeah, so the reason I wanted to create this live stream was because some of you may have some questions about the retreat or my retreats or my work. And so if you do have any questions, perhaps should have written that as a comment. Let me see if I can put that in there now. If you have any questions, please share them here. I'm hoping this is in the Facebook group as well. Anyway, I don't want to lose this, so Kelly, let me know if it's in the Facebook group, will you? Um, yeah, so some of you might have some questions, some of you might have some practical questions, some of you might have some am I ready questions, is this work for me questions, and they're all welcome, and I'm happy to make this as interactive as possible. I know it's a live stream, and I know I can't really see the comments, but I'll do my best to keep going backwards and forwards to answer any that come through. And there might not be any that come through. As I've said, I have had some amazing conversations with some amazing women, and that's why I wanted to come in and do this, because I absolutely love the work that I do and I love my retreats. So just to sort of give you, let's speak to what kind of women are drawn to my work. So they're usually women who are holding everything together. They're usually the woman who everyone relies on. They're usually the woman. Oh, thanks, Kelly. Thank you so much for checking. They're usually the one who looks like she's coping. They're usually women like me. Very often they're the woman that I used to be, and there are many, many women who live in me. I've been many versions of the same women, and most women I speak to, I recognize and resonate with a lot of what they say. They recognize themselves in me, and there's this beautiful co-creation, and that's another reason why I love bringing women together, because there's this incredible recognition of um, pain, joy, shared experiences, that feeling that we're not alone. And that's just so magical. Um, I'm just going to read Kelly's comment because she's written something really lovely. Thank you, Kelly. Kelly has said, I attended a UK retreat initially, and I have since attended 4 rewilding retreats in Andalusia, Spain. All the retreats have been amazing. I have found a renewed sense of freedom and space at the Spain retreats and have blossomed from the first one. Oh my gosh, it's been amazing to watch you, Kelly, and have opened more and become more me after each retreat. It's just been such a pleasure and a gift and an honor to watch you unfold, Kelly. Kelly's also in my circle community where we look at a lot of this work, the energetics, the nervous system, a little bit more deeper. So I really appreciate your words, Kelly. And it has been such a privilege to watch you each time, build that relationship with yourself. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that because to be in relationship with yourself, you have to know what that is. You have to know what the thing is that you're in relationship with, right? I'm going to talk about that. So just to go back with the women that are drawn to this work, the women, I've had many, many, many women coming through the retreat Facebook ads and, they're telling me a little bit about themselves, which is always, again, such a privilege. And these women are looking for peace, they're looking for peace of mind, they're looking for connection, reconnection with their body. They may be feeling lost, they may be feeling flat, they may be feeling disconnected, they might be feeling stressed, they might be feeling busy. They feel like something's missing, but they might not be able to name what it is. Many women have done the work, they've done the therapy, they've done the counseling, they may understand their patterns, but life still feels like there's something missing. And of course, then I pop up into people's worlds and this retreat appears, and of course, that looks incredible. And the Facebook ad that's doing the best is the one that speaks about Inanna. And for those of you that don't know who Inanna is a Sumerian goddess, and she chooses to go into the underworld. And the reason I love Inanna and I love Persephone, and if you don't know those two ladies, you can ask me and I'll tell you about them. I work with myth a lot because I think women learn through story and resonance. But the reason I was personally drawn to Inanna is because she chooses to go into the underworld, and she chooses that because she has gotten to that point where, and this is where many women are at a threshold, which is I've done all this work. I know my patterns. I know this, I know that, but there's something missing. And so Inanna has to go down 7 gates, and at each gate, she is required to remove something of her crown, clothing, her jewelry, until at the 7th gate, she is naked. Now, I won't go into the story too much, but what I want to say about Inanna is that at the first gate, and remember she's choosing to go into the underworld, at the first gate, she has to relinquish her crown. And metaphorically, that's like the masks that I wear as a woman to keep myself safe, to keep myself safe. So, what masks do you wear as women where you unconsciously, sometimes consciously, but more so unconsciously, don't feel safe, and so you wear a mask that has a certain form, and it might be humor, it might be people pleasing, it might be the good girl. But this can take many forms, and so these women that come into my field, they feel something. They feel that something needs to be shared, but they don't necessarily have the language for it. And so, because of that, my retreats or my work come into their field or come into your field if you're listening to me. And often you'll get that sense of like, this feels like it's for me, or there's something about this that's intriguing to me. And then the little shitty committee comes in and says, well, you can't do that and you shouldn't do that and it's too much and you might be too much and it's not the right time and you haven't got enough money and blah, 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 blah. Now, that's all fine. I understand it. And I'm sure Kelly, who's made the comment, could probably tell you that she has potentially goes through a version of this every time and definitely would have done the first time. And I know if you're in my Facebook community, Wild Awakening, Understand Your Feminine Nature, one of the other ladies, a beautiful lady called Sheridan, actually volunteered what the doubts were that she went through. And it's very interesting to read these things that come up. And me too, when I was creating these retreats, the same things come up for me. As I said, I'm right with you, ladies. I'm a practitioner as well. So I just want to name these things because I want to let you know that whilst I understand that voice, and the shitty committee, as I call it, or the little fucker, like you can have your own name for that voice that talks you out of things, and for good reason, because it's a protective mechanism and it's not that I want you to push past anything, but I am interested in understanding it. I'm interested in you understanding the flavor of it and the theme of it. And let's going, like going underneath, down and in to understand it. So, you know, I want to just speak to these women, to you women who feel like you might be holding everything together, the one who people relies on, the one who gets things done, the one who looks like she's coping. And maybe you feel a bit lost, a bit disconnected, a bit flat, and maybe you feel like something is missing and you can't quite name it. Or maybe you're somewhere in between. Maybe you do have, you have done a lot of work on yourself. You do understand your patterns, but life still doesn't quite feel how you thought it would be. And some of you may be hiding under the metaphorical duvet, figuratively or literally, because that's what the feminine does. She retreats, but she retreats under the duvet. She doesn't very often retreat on a retreat. So, yeah, see, Kelly, my little fucker often tries to rear its head. I do at least recognize it. Now, me too. Those of you that have been in my field for, even a year will have watched me go through this and speak about this with my first Crete retreat last year. Now, I'm going to come back to what I was talking about with, being in relationship. I'm interested in what's underneath your story and about what is it that you believe about yourself? And that will be the theme, the flavors of your particular little fucker, of your particular shitty committee. There'll be a certain flavor. Like in my experience, it's a Charlie flavor. And I've gotten to know it. I've built a relationship with that little fucker, not from a place of fear, but from a place of curiosity. So, if I were to ask each and every one of you, ladies listening, what are your true beliefs about yourself? Would you be able to tell me what lives deep in your psyche about what you believe, about who you are in the world? Because very often women might be able to tell me their beliefs, but their language, the language that they use when they speak to me, will give me a clue of what is actually running the show behind the scenes, what's actually shaping their life, and what beliefs they may be carrying that weren't ever theirs to carry. These beliefs are often what women are saturated in, may have been passed down from womb to womb, culturally. And this is why this is so important, ladies, because to be in relationship with something, we have to know what that thing is. And most of us, and I wasn't, I had no idea the water that I was swimming in because I wasn't in relationship with my beliefs, with the water that I was swimming in. I had no idea. So we live inside almost this bubble of beliefs, but we don't see them. So they might sound like, I have to hold everything together. I don't get to get what I want. Nobody takes care of me. Why do I have to do everything on my own? I can't spend that kind of money on myself. I have to be responsible. I can't disappoint people. This is all on me. Now, you might have a different version of that, but it's always just a place to stay curious and loving with what loops in your mind as thoughts, as narrative of story, because these beliefs then live in our female body. They live in our female nervous system, in the way we make decisions, in the way that we show up in the world, in the way we hide under the duvet, in what we receive, in what we allow, and in what we don't. And so this is where my work is a little bit different. And something I'm very proud of because of the work that I've done on myself, it to enable me to embody this and to be able to teach from an embodied place. Because I'm not here to fix you and I'm not here to tell you to think differently, but I am interested in what's underneath. Caroline has said, I often feel like a swan. I look fine above water, but paddling like a crazy woman below the water. That's such a powerful visual picture, metaphor. Like, as you ladies hear what Caroline has said, and you, Caroline, as well, I often feel like a swan. I look fine above water, but I'm paddling like a crazy woman below the water. How does it feel in your body as you hear that from another woman? How does it feel for you, Caroline, to speak that truth out loud? I'd love to hear from you. This is why I'm interested in what's underneath, what's in the undercurrent. This is why I love that you've used this metaphor of the water, because this is the river beneath the river. This is the undercurrent. Our beliefs are the undercurrent. Why does it feel unsafe to rest? Why does it feel unsafe to receive? Why does it feel unsafe to be supported? Why does something in you contract just as something else is opening? Because that's where the truth lives. That's where the truth is. It feels scary to you, Caroline. The truth is often not what we say we want, but in what our female bodies will actually allow us to have because of our nervous system capacity. That's the bulk of my work, helping women to build capacity within themselves to be grounded, to speak their truth, to make decisions, not from swimming like a crazy person under the water, but by choosing yourself. So Sharon has put fear of letting yourself or others down. There are very deep female nervous system truths to a lot of these things that I'm reading here. I often tell this story, Sharon. I'm not sure you'll have heard it before, but in my circle community, which FYI, ladies, is only 24.99 a month, and I teach a lot of this stuff in on Zoom, but with other women, we're all together. We co-create because I love to co-create with other women. It's one of the things I'm very fucking good at, and I really enjoy it. But um, this story sort of speaks to this, Sharon. And I was an addiction specialist many, many years ago now. And I set up the service on my own single-handedly as a single mother looking after my father at Adam Brooks Hospital. Now, I was literally on my own, and I'm doing that sort of quote marks because that was the water that I was swimming in. I am on my own. This is all on me. Now, isn't it interesting that the universe provided me with a job that just happened to have me on my own, covering the whole hospital, completely burnt out and stressed and overworking and overperforming and overgiving and overcaring, exhausting myself, taking care of so many other people. And I thought it was all on me. And Sharon, I felt that if I had a day off sick, and this is something I think Kelly will probably resonate with as well, when I had a day off sick, I couldn't, and I didn't, because I thought that I would let everyone down if I didn't show up. Now, lo and behold, to cut a very long story short, I ended up leaving that job and training to be a personal trainer. And guess what? You know where I'm going with this, right? The hospital survived, and the addictions service put in 6 nurses and one consultant, maybe two. And so it didn't just collapse. Everyone was fine. And in fact, it thrived, and they got more nurses and a much bigger team. But part of that sense of duty and care and fear of letting other people down, and the hospital and the clients, etc., led me to having what's commonly known as a breakdown, a burnout. Now, I now know that was a nervous system shutdown, and I was doing all sorts of things to manage my state, my nervous system state, which included alcohol, drugs, and 4 hours of exercise a day. I mean, I can't believe that now. But anyway, that's part of my story. However, I want to say that when we start to do the sort of deeper work of being with other women, co-creating with other women, sharing with other women, resonating with other women, working with myth and story and movement and our female nervous systems, this has women, and I've seen it happen over and over and over again on all of my retreats, soften. They soften. they open, they start to feel nourished. Sorry, my little dog's over there. They start to open, soften, feed themselves in a different way, start to see the cracks in their narrative, start to understand that the feminine doesn't rush, that the feminine isn't about forcing life into existence or forcing action just in case as a transaction. Don't worry, Anne, you're welcome here. It's okay, you're not late. There is no late in my world. Thank you for being here. Um, oh gosh, I could talk about this all day. But I'm going to try and keep. But please do, if you have any questions as I'm speaking, please share them because it looks like I can see my uh, comments, which is really unusual. Kelly will tell you. Normally I can't see them. But there is a way of living that's very different. You know, I know this, where you are not constantly pushing and controlling and trying to make things happen just to stay safe. And this is such an important layer for the feminine to understand that we need to feel safe. So that's what we're always looking for. But many of us are instinct injured, and thus we are operating from performance, pushing, striving, transaction. So I just want you to know, and those of you that have been in my field a long time will have seen this actually happening in me. Those of you that have known me a few years, those of you that have watched a video of me being coached back in 2018 will see and feel the difference in me, in my voice, in my presence, in my energy, because I'm here to show you, and Kelly and any other ladies who feel like they want to share about their experience on retreat will also share with their words that you can soften into yourself, that you can come into your body, that you don't have to listen to the narrative, the performance, the shoulda, woulda, coulda, or the shitty committee. We don't have to keep receiving that. And when you do that, when you get to know yourself, when you build that relationship with your body, with your nervous system states, with the stories that loop, with what's under the current, right? The river beneath the river. Life meets you there, and that is also co-creational as the feminine. It's not about doing nothing. It's not about gripping so tightly that nothing can reach you. The feminine was never designed to live in constant effort, and guess what happens when she does? She's exhausted, she's tired, she's sad, she's disconnected, she is full of shame. Shame causes shameflammation, inflammation. And there's so many consequences to everything that I've said, but the truth is we were designed to feel, to respond to life, to our desire, to receive. We are receiving beings, but not to receive our shitty committee, but to receive from life and co-create from that place. We create what moves through us. You know, I had no idea what I was going to speak about when I came on here. I mean, I didn't even know if I was going to be able to use the Zoom. Um, there's something very magical that's available to you if you allow yourself to be open to a different possibility about who you are in the world and what's available for you. And that is another reason why I wanted to come on and do a live stream, because for some of you, this isn't just something you're listening to, it's something you're feeling. The retreats may be something that you're feeling into. And when, of course, we do that, because we're so not used to listening from our body, listening to that bat signal, our true signal, the mind's straight in. Is it the right time? Can I afford it? What about everything else? What if I let everyone down? What if nobody likes me? What if I'm too fat? What if I'm too old? What if I'm too thin? What if I'm too ugly? Am I ready? All of these things can come up, and they come up because women are have been, intentionally pitted against each other. And so there's a lot of comparison and all these questions that come in. And so, again, it can feel easier to hide under the metaphorical duvet. But I want you to know that there's something extraordinarily magical that happens if you are able to open the door, even a little way, even just by coming into my field, even just by listening here to my voice about what's possible for you. And I've been having some really amazing, honest conversations, some practical, some deeper, as I've said, some about timing, some about readiness, some about, Spain, which one, Crete, Spain, Norfolk, and I can tell you about them if you want me to. But what really is, often the kind of root is, am I okay to choose myself? I mean, how does it feel as I say that? What does it actually mean for you to choose yourself? Because my work, my retreats, my circles, um, the retreats, they're not just a few days away. They're not just yoga, they're not just a beautiful place, they're not just time off. They're a space where all of this, everything that I've been talking about, do you want me to talk about all three, Anne? Because I will quite happily. Um, my retreats are a space where everything that we've been speaking about becomes real, where you begin to see what you've been carrying, what you've been overriding, what is actually true for you, and more importantly, what's the water that you're swimming in? How can you build a relationship to that? And you get to feel like yourself again. Maybe even you get to feel yourself for the first time. You get to feel seen. You get to feel heard. You get to feel loved. You get to feel fed. You get to feel nourished. You get to feel warm. You get to feel cuddled. You get to feel what it's like to have full oxytocin bathing. You get to share your truth, your voice. You get to move, you get to dance. You get to understand your nervous system. And often for women who come, it is a threshold moment. It is a moment of, can I really do this? I'm scared. I see this so much. I'm scared of traveling on my own. I'm scared of coming on my own. What if nobody likes me? I'm scared of sharing a room. I'm scared of not sharing a room. Now, I want to say, just from a practical point of view, about the retreats. And Anne, I'm not sure if you want me to speak about all three, and as I said, I will do. I can summarize it. But every retreat I create, co-create, it's a co-creation, right? It's a co-creation with amazing other women on the same path where we are healing together, sharing together, healing bloodlines sometimes, right? That's the power of this work. But each retreat that is co-created with myself and the women who come on a particular retreat, I have a WhatsApp group. Now, many of the women who come on my retreat are in my circle as well. I have an online circle. And so on circle, on retreats, on the online circle in my retreats, there's these things come up with women who feel afraid, who feel shy, who feel scared, and the support and the power of that is absolutely incredible. Now, so for the retreats, oh, Anne, I was on my own underworld journey, probably. Um, but thank you for saying that. I wouldn't have been ready. I wouldn't have been ready to teach from the place that I can teach today, 5 years ago. So that is what I will say. I have been on my own underworld journey, and I'm very proud of that and myself, and I'm very proud of where I've gotten to. Um, but no, I wouldn't have been ready 5 years ago, but I am now ready. I'm definitely now ready to share it, and I think the women that find me are ready, right? They're ready. Um, where was I? I have a WhatsApp group for every retreat, and that means that there's a co-creation, okay? So every woman who signs up and says yes and pays a deposit comes into a WhatsApp group, and we start to weave together. So once you say yes to the retreat, you come into the WhatsApp group and you have my support. Right, you have my support from the moment you come in till 2 weeks after. I keep the WhatsApp group open for 2 weeks after the retreat, and then of course you're either in my online circle already, or you can join it, and you can join it before you come on retreat. You can join it and listen, and be involved in the field in that way. But you are held intentionally by me and all the other women. It's a co-creation together. So let me tell you a little bit about the retreats. And I also just want to caveat this and say I'm completely biased. So that's why I asked other women to share their experiences of the retreat, because I know I'm completely biased. And the reason I'm completely biased is because I am very intentional about the retreats that I create, the spaces that we go to, the work that I bring into the retreat. So I run them in Crete, in Spain, and in Norfolk. And this year we're going to be on the Norfolk Broads. So I've changed location. In fact, all the ones I've done in Norfolk have been in different locations. So Crete, we're going back to a beautiful place in Juliana, which is 30 minutes from Chania. The retreat venue is beautiful bedrooms, some with ensuite, some with not ensuite, but beautiful bedrooms, beautiful land, swimming pool, sauna, an Ayurvedic chef we have in Crete. So in Crete, the en suites, the bathrooms, they're all sort of inside. The bedrooms are inside. And there's a reason I'm saying that, which you'll get in a minute. But we have an indoor yoga shala and an outdoor yoga shala, and we eat outside, but there is space to eat inside just in case. But of course, it's Greece, so we're often very blessed with beautiful weather. And Spain is 31st of August to the 5th of September this year. And Spain, you can think of my retreats like a sandwich. So you've got Crete and you've got Norfolk, and we've got Spain in the middle. And Spain is unique in that I run it kind of alongside. I don't really know what the word is, but that we have a male presence in the Spain retreat. And his name is Neil, and it's his land, his finca. He has rescue horses, rescue dogs. Everything about Spain is na nature, rewilding, bushcraft, outside, bell tents, caravans. We eat outside, we sit outside, we sleep outside. The bathrooms and the showers are outside, but they are in beautiful wooden huts. Um, and the aspect of Spain is like literally back to nature, women back to nature, off grid. So, and then Norfolk, this year we're on the Norfolk Broads, and again we've got beautiful cottage space, but there's 5 cottages right along the river in Horning, one of the Broads in Horning, and each of the cottages has a ensuite single room downstairs, disabled friendly. And then upstairs in the cottages, and they're all the same, there's 5 cottages. There's 2 single rooms upstairs which share a bathroom, and that bathroom, Anne, has a bath. The disabled access downstairs ensuite has a walk-in shower and different things. But if you're interested in disabled access, please just let me know and send me a message and we can talk. But Norfolk, the rooms are inside, the bathrooms are inside. Um, there's a hot tub and this beautiful, beautiful Broads. I mean, it's just amazing. Now, the reason I say it in that way, and Norfolk is October the 23rd to the 26th. So they're like a sandwich because Crete and Norfolk, we've got, retreat centres, specifically retreat centres. Spain is off-grid nature, bell tents, caravans, animals, lakes, river. Kelly will probably tell me, is it a river or a lake? Neil tells me off every year, doesn't he? Um, and he's the cook, and he teaches some of the rewilding and bushcraft activities for the women, and I do everything else. Um, Crete and Norfolk, I do everything. Oh, actually, this year in Crete and last year in Crete, I have someone who comes and teaches the yoga. Now, this last year it was a beautiful, wonderful client. This year it's a beautiful, wonderful client. Norfolk tends to just be all me. In Spain, I have a wonderful woman called Laura who comes to help me, who's very much the yang to my yin, and I love her very much. And she's a wonderful, wonderful character who everyone just adores because she's hilarious. Um, so that's a little bit in terms of like practical river. Sorry, yeah, river. That's kind of the difference. All the work that I do on my retreats is going to be fairly similar, although each retreat has its own theme. Now, this year on my retreats and in my circle community, I am weaving the women who runs with the wolves throughout my circle transmissions and throughout the retreat. So I'm not going to do I'm not going to spoil anything, but the work that I do, as I've said, is intentionally to help women come back into their bodies, to help women understand what's the water that they're swimming in, the river beneath the river. And I do that through myth, and I do that through story, and I do that through women sharing, oxytocin bathing, somatic practices, and helping women to really be in relationship with who they are, like truly. But what is the water that you're swimming in? Okay. So some of you may already have a sense of like, I know I'm meant to be there. And the question I think, rather than listening to, is it the right time? Does it make sense? Can I justify it? Am I going to let people down? Is, are you willing to let life meet you there? Are you willing to allow yourself to be received and met and held by other women? So think I've been talking for about 50 minutes now, which is again not unusual, but I don't just like the sound of my own voice. I do love hearing the voices of the women in my field. If any of you have any questions at all, please just type them in. Did you have any other questions, Anne? Did I share enough about the three venues? I'd love to do four. Um, but yeah, let me know. Did you have any, Sharon? Um, in the absence of any questions, you'll never be flying alone. And you have a ton of questions. Let's hear them. You can write them, it's okay. This is something that I want to say actually. This came up in conversation yesterday with another incredible soul. And because I know that so many women, oh, I'll come back to that, Caroline. Because I know that so many women carry shame, what I want to say to anyone who this might be relevant for is you will never tell me anything that would shock me. I know that that will never happen. I will never judge you. I have been through some stuff in my life and done some things in my life. Um, and I've been working with humans my entire career. So from the age of 21 onwards. So I have heard some things, seen some things, and I have done some things. Now, shame is something that is erosive and expands in silence. And so I think it's really important part of this work to understand that I will never judge you. The women who come on my retreats have similar experiences of shame and pain and criticism. And once you hear other stories and you share together, and nothing is forced, remember, I don't force anything or push anything. You don't have to do the yoga if you don't want to. You don't have to do anything you don't want to. And to your question, Caroline, phones are allowed, of course. I never want to, again, force anything. You have the option to give me your phone at the beginning of the retreat or not. You can keep your phone. Some people, some women give me their phones and have a total phone detox. Other women keep their phones. It's a completely personal choice. I would never force a feminine being into anything ever. Okay, this is really important because if I was to force anything, I run the risk of losing, that woman's trust, her nervous system going into activation, and because I work very, very deeply with the female nervous system, I wouldn't do that. So it's an interesting question that's come up, Caroline, because maybe some retreats do take away their phones. I just say to women, if you want to, you can, and I will keep them safe. But it's a personal choice. Sharon, no, I totally understand the need to work on me. I may get to take some time to get there, and I can vouch for your listening skills and empathy. Well, thank you so much, Sharon. Is shame the same as guilt? And no, shame and guilt, well, they're basically sisters. They're twins, right? Women feel shame and guilt the same, but where do you feel shame in your body? Where do you feel guilt in your body? Guilt is I have done something wrong. Shame is I am wrong. And they're two very different energetic frequencies in the female body. Is guilt the action and shame the feel? Well, I'll ask you that. Do you think guilt is an action? Do you think it's a story? Do you think shame is a feeling? Or is shame a story? I have transmissions in my circle, my online circle, on guilt and shame. Two very erosive frequencies for the feminine and incredibly common because we slag ourselves off, we hit ourselves with a shitty stick, and then we carry shame. Shame is I am wrong. Guilt is I have done something wrong, whether you have or whether you haven't. Guilt can prevent us from, say, coming on a retreat because I don't want to leave the children because I'd feel guilty. Guilt is, potentially the reason why we might be unable to receive support in any way. Shame is what shows up for us. Oh gosh, shame is a whole hour and a half a day transmission, right? But just to get a sense of this in your own experience, if you feel guilty, tune into where that lives in your body. And if you feel ashamed or shame, tune into where you feel that in your body. And that's another thing that I think is so important because I think it was Brené Brown that said this many years ago, and I always remember it, although I won't quote it verbatim. But, if you can shine a light on shame, if you can bring shame out of the shadows, and this is shadow work, that's why it's called shadow work, because it sits there and it's the water that we're swimming in. It's a bit like Caroline saying, I'm this sort of beautiful swan above the water, but underneath I'm sort of, you know, rushing. But in that is also shame and guilt and criticism and story and performance and overgiving. The water that we're swimming in. So where does it feel in your body? Now, many women won't understand what that even means, and they might go straight into the head, and that's also okay because understanding the language of your felt sense is a practice. And if you've been used to going to your mind to figure things out, sort things out, driven by shame and guilt, then you might not even know it somatically, and that's okay. I didn't know that for many years I was being driven by shame, and that's a whole other story, which I can share with you another time if you want me to. I'm very open and honest about my own experience of the things that I've been through and of my learnings, and the bumps along the way and my own descent into the underworld, not to stay there in the swamp. This isn't what that's about, but to gather the gold that's hidden in the shadows. You have to meet her, you have to meet yourself. And as I said, you have to be in relationship with what's under there to be able to meet her. No, neither are you, Caroline. Tracy, I feel I don't know myself besides being a mother, besides what my job role was. I don't know me, and now I'm getting older. I feel no one takes any notice of me. I'm not seen, not heard, but feel if I was young and beautiful, I would be seen. I guess what I'm saying, I'm struggling with transitioning into an older woman, but no one understands what I'm feeling. I feel great loss as a woman on so many levels. Tracy, I want to say to you that this particular theme that you're talking about comes up with many women, and many women, including myself, will resonate and feel the truth of what you've shared here. And I really thank you for sharing this because this is so important that firstly, you don't feel alone in that. And what it's like to go through the grief of women. So this is the thing. This is one of the things that I teach about the transitions of being a woman. You know, once we stop being a mother, once we stop bleeding, you know, once the children leave home, and this starts, you know, from teenage years. Once I start bleeding, once I grow into a woman, once I give birth, if I give birth, then, you know, all of these are thresholds for a woman. And you've got the archetypes in myth of the, you know, maiden, mother, crone, the trilogy. And you could sort of break those down into more sort of refined archetypes. But each one of those is a threshold for the feminine. And what's important for us is that we have some sort of ritual about it, but also to honor the grief that lives in us. And so, you know, again, this is another reason why I love bringing women together, either online or in on retreat in person, is because that kind of thread, that kind of honesty, that kind of openness, I've seen that soften a woman so deeply when she's met in that vulnerable place of sharing the truth of that. And I can help you understand um, more deeply the truth that's there underneath that. I see you and I hear you. Yes, I knew it would have taken a lot of courage for you to share that, and I really appreciate that very, very much. And it is grief. Sarah Ann, I'm not going to read that out because I'm not sure if you want me to share that, because this is obviously will be going on my wider things, but I just want to say I am so, so sorry to read what you've written. That is incredibly heartbreaking. And again, you're not alone. There are many, many women in my field. I wish more of you spoke out on the free group, because in my circle, the women speak out and they get supported. But all of you ladies in my free group, of which there are nearly 3,000 now, many of you ladies will always share common threads, grief being one of those, grief in many different forms. Um, I'm so sorry, and I really appreciate you sharing that with us, because that is very tough, very tough. Okay. I don't know if you know Sarah Ann. I haven't seen your name pop up before, and I want to just say thank you for your courage in sharing that. I don't know if you know anything about my story, but I know grief very, very well. It's been part of my life's work, I think, to travel the grief path. And so many women. Okay, thank you, Sarah. So what Sarah said is that she lost her only son at age 37. She keeps him alive in her heart and words. Now, there are a lot, I think because of who I am and my work, a lot of women in my field, in the free group, experience grief and go through grief. I have done a whole transmission
Thank you
on
for listening
grief.
to Courage, Dear Heart. I really appreciate it. It would be amazing if you could leave me a
Thank you.
review
What I'll
and
do
press
then,
subscribe so that
I do a
others
grief
who
transmission in
are
my
looking to
circle.
find freedom
I
from
will make a
anxiety
video again
and
and
habits
share
can
it in
find their way
the
here.
free group.
You can
Are you in my
also go
group,
to my
Sarah?
website,
I'm
iamcharliewall.com,
guessing that you're in my free
and
community.
subscribe, sign
I
up for
will
my
share a
emails,
grief transmission
and you'll
that I
also
shared
find my
in
Facebook
my
group,
circle community with
Finding
all of you,
Freedom from
and then you'll
Habits
get
and
a feel
Anxiety,
for what the
on
kind of things that I
Facebook.
do
So
and
yeah,
teach, and
please
that's
do
just
connect with
one
me, and I'll
layer
see
of
you
it. But
next
yes,
week.
my story is yeah, it's grief. It's grief. So yes, it's something I've lived with for a long time, and I've traveled the underworld many times, but I didn't know I was traveling the underworld until I did. I didn't have words for it. I didn't understand it. I numbed myself from it. I ran from it in all the ways that you can possibly run from it. Again, figuratively and literally. And so, yeah, it's something that many of the women in my field know, whether they've, like, as Tracy spoke about, that feeling of loss with regards to transitions and other things. Um, there's I think grief is such an important thing for women to share and be a part of. There's something very beautiful about that. But I also, I don't want to sort of bypass where you're at, and I want to say I'm so sorry, and I really admire your courage for bringing that into the group and onto this live stream. But I've been talking now since 7 o'clock, and thank you, those of you, if you've been here from the beginning. I am deeply honoured. If you've joined us halfway, I'm deeply honoured. For those of you who've shared your comments, thank you so much. You'll get a feel for the other women in the field. If you're watching this on replay, look at the comments, share your thoughts, share your experiences, tell me what you hear. And as I leave today, I want you to know that there is hope. There is the possibility of life being very different for you, because it is for me. If you feel like you want to talk about coming on a retreat, just let me know and send me a message, and we can create the space for conversation. If you feel like you're like, oh, I like the sound of the circle, I'm not ready for a retreat, but I want to come into the sort of more intimate field, then you're very welcome to do that as well. It's $24.99. The women are amazing. You're welcome, Caroline. It's lovely to see you. It's been ages. We can talk again, or I can do another one of these, whichever. But I will release the grief transmission for you ladies, and yeah, I hope you find it helpful. But anyway, thank you for being here. The feminine doesn't rush. She is a beautiful sort of furling flower, and once you understand that, and you understand that the water that you're swimming in, you also understand that you have a quieter voice, an intuitive nudge, something that's protecting you, something that's guiding you, if you're willing to listen. And don't ignore that voice, because if you feel it even quietly, you already know, and it's led you here. And I am grateful for that. Lots and lots of love to you.